right. So if you're new to the channel or if you're old to the channel, you know me and John Kosko always do a preview. We're going to switch it up a little bit. Spices the variety of life, or however that goes. We're going to do something cool. We're going to go Browns offense versus the Chargers defense. Then we're going to drop a video tomorrow. It's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the Chargers offense versus the Browns defense. And then finally, the last one we'll do in a couple of days is overall thoughts, keys to victory for the Cleveland Browns against the Chargers. So we'll do it and we'll drop them in succession. So you'll have an opportunity to go back, watch 3 of them. You can watch all of them, and it'll give you a little quicker bite at the apple as we preview these games. So let's get right off into it, John. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns offense versus the Chargers defense. Chargers pretty good when it comes to getting after the quarterback. What do your numbers say?
Yeah, they've been good this year. So they, grade wise, they're the 4th highest graded pass rush unit in the NFL at a 77.5. They got 12 sacks, 18 hits, 46 hurries, and they've also had 28 other wins when it comes to rushing the passer. They're one of the more effective pass rushing teams in the NFL, which they made the investment to do that, and it is paying off. The losing Bosa is a big hit to them from that aspect. And Derwin James, when they have him rushing, he's one of the best safety blitzers in the NFL. So Khalil Mack does have 5 sacks this year, which obviously is a good number. But from a quality standpoint, I would say he's not what he was at his prime, but he's still putting up the good numbers for that defense. So they have a formidable pass rush, but I think the Browns' offensive system does help them in this regard, and also not having Joey Bosa anymore.
Yeah, I think though, the Browns are running the ball and they're going to work off play action, which kind of slows down defenders. So, I would be a little scared if they threw the ball, say, like a Buffalo Bills team, and they just drop back and throw it all over the park. But I think the Browns will be okay if they can still consistently just go to what they've done best so far, which is the Chubb Hunt game, work off that manageable throw. I look at the Atlanta Falcons game. And one of the reasons I was so doggone mad at was just a simple fact that these dudes, the Atlanta Falcons, were smart enough to understand what was going on. They're smart enough to understand the Browns are light up front. They're missing Clowney. They're missing Myles Garrett. They have backups off the street in a practice squad. Why don't we just run the ball? And they did it 11 straight times up and down the field, and scored points. For me, the Cleveland Browns don't do that enough. They don't. I know you have to keep them honest to a certain extent, but when Nick Chubb is working, he gets 19 carries. Is 19 carries enough for a guy like Nick Chubb, especially how high you guys got to have him rated?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, in my opinion, I think 19 carries is plenty. I just think how you call plays is the issue for that game for Kevin Stefanski. He called 6 screen passes. Not a single one of them worked. You could argue that the first one, or the one to Njoku, would have worked had he not fumbled it, and then had Jacoby Brissett, not double clutched on the one in the red zone towards the end of the half, would have worked as well. But the thing is that they weren't working, and he kept calling them, and he called 2 on the last drive of the game. So I think getting Nick Chubb 19 carries is perfectly fine, because if you think about it, he's on pace right now to have over 330 carries in the season, which is a lot. Right. And you don't want to run your guys into the ground. So I don't mind having, kind of maxing it out around that 20, carry mark. And it's not like hey, we have to get Nick Chubb 20 carries. It's like, run your offense however it is going to be efficiently, which is, utilize both Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb to their fullest abilities, and then call plays that work in the pass game, which for the Browns is usually the screen game works, but if it wasn't working in the game, go off of that, do your play action stuff, which was working really well, and try to, use Amari Cooper in more creative ways.
Yeah, Amari Cooper, the last 2 games, he had 100 yards. This game, he was blanked out. When you watch it, was it just a matter of what they were doing defensively, or was it a quarterback thing?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, they made it an emphasis to try to stop Amari Cooper, and then I think with Jacoby Brissett, he's not an elite level type of guy to kind of manipulate defenses with his eyes. He's going to kind of take what the defense gives him in a sense. And, if he determined pre-snap that was, canceled out based on whatever their alignment was, he might not go there, even if he's getting open. But then on times when he did go to him, he maybe came off of him too quickly, or he just missed him on a throw. So, it's not like he wasn't targeted in game. He was, I believe it was 7 times, but you miss on your throws. And and the Falcon, give Falcons credit a little bit there as well.
So in this game, when we look at it, the Browns' offense versus their defense, what type of scoring affair is this going to be? What do the Browns have to do? Are you looking more towards, hey, let's do ball control and keep the ball out of Herbert's hands? We'll talk about it a little bit in the next episode. You guys make sure you check out the episode where we talk about the Chargers offense, but they're averaging 300 yards in the air. Is that something where the Browns want to keep the ball away from them, run ball control, have possession and time of possession lead, or do they have to? Are they going to have to go in thinking we got to score 32 points?
I think you want to do both. I think
all the above.
It's like one of those things, like when you face Patrick Mahomes, and it's like you want to keep the ball away from him, but the second he gets the ball, he's going down in 3 minutes and scoring a touchdown. Justin Herbert has that ability as well. He is hindered by his injury, and if you look at they haven't been like a prolific offense this year, but I think the fact is that we know what type of quarterback that Justin Herbert is, and that he can just like shred you within the blink of an eye. So you do want to keep the ball out of his hands. You want to keep that, especially with the Browns defense. If they have like 3/4 of their starting defensive line off, like from an offensive perspective, you have to understand that, and you call a game plan of like, hey, we're gonna bleed this clock, and the Browns do a really good job of that, where you can But the thing is, when you do bleed that clock, you can't settle. You can't be settling for field goals. You've got to then become efficient in the red zone, calling good plays in the red zone, and scoring touchdowns. Because I think we saw it last year when the Browns played the Chargers. They scored 40+ points and still lost the game because the Chargers can just light you up on fire. So yeah, you have to be able to do a good job running the ball, bleeding the clock, and then just being efficient with it and scoring touchdowns every time you get the ball. It's easier said than done, obviously, but I mean that's the kind of the game plan you need to have on offense.
All right, so let's end this segment with doing a little over under, right? You always want to get that in, and I think these are kind of difficult. So I'm gonna get your opinion on these. Over under 218.5 passing yards for Jacoby Brissett.
I'm gonna go over. And I think they're gonna. You look at the Chargers secondary. They have good pieces, but I think what the Browns have as an advantage is allow Brissett to have time to throw it. And I think their offensive line is better than what they have as a pass rush unit. Even though it's on paper it was improved, it really hasn't shown out too much so far this year to be that effective. So I think I'm going to go with the over there.
Yeah, 218 is paltry to me. I think he at least gets, he had 230 last week, didn't light the world on fire. I think he at least gets 220, 225. He's been thrown in that range. I'll go with the over as well. Over under 95.5 rushing yards for Nick Chubb.
I'm going to go over. I mean, he's gone over that in 3 of the 4 games. So I think, and this is not a great run defense. It's one of the, bottom third of the league in run defense in terms of efficiency and, success rate. So I think with Chubb, you get him his touches, he's gonna make his yards, and he's gonna get probably another 100+ day.
I'll give it to him too. Hey, listen, he's on my fantasy team. The reason I take him every year is because he's a monster. I like him watching. I like watching him run the ball. I got him definitely over 100 yards in this game. Over under 65.5 receiving yards for David Njoku.
That's a tough one, right? Because it depends on if they emphasize trying to get him the ball. Last year, obviously, he had way over that against the Chargers. When they making a concerted effort to get him the ball and get him targets, he's going to get over that. And I think they're starting to. Hey, we've got our number 1 and number 2 guys in the receiving game are Amari Cooper and David Njoku. So I think they are kind of using them that way, and I think they will continue to do so. So I'm going to go over.
Listen, I'm going to go over. I think the Browns might be down a little bit in this game on the second half, and I think they might have to throw the football. So I think he'll get over to 65.5. Couple more, just 2 more. over 70.5 receiving yards for Amari Cooper. Over or under?
I'm going to go over because, look at the last time that, for obviously we only have a 4-game sample for the Browns, but, in week 1, he was, shut out. They didn't really go his way at all. And then they made a concerted effort to go to him. And he obviously, capitalized with having 100 straight yard games. So I'm going to go over.
All right. Last one here. Over or under 31.5 receiving yards for Donovan Peoples-Jones?
I'm going to go under because I just don't trust that they will get him the ball on a consistent manner. Obviously, he went over in his last game, they had the big corner route down to the 1 yard line, which they didn't capitalize on. But I'm going to go with the under on that. He's just not consistent enough for me to say, hey, yeah, that guy's going to get that.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get the targets. You can't count on his touches. I'll go definitely under for there. And it's so crazy. We got all the same answers. We got 4 overs, 1 under. So listen, great minds think alike. That's so right. We want to thank everybody for pulling up and catching out this first episode. We looked at the Browns offense versus the Chargers defense. In the next episode coming out tomorrow, on Thursday, you'll see this episode. We'll talk about the Chargers offense versus the Browns defense. But we will get to that. Make sure you check it out. We'll link it in the description. Thanks for checking out the Browns preview. We'll catch you back on Thursday with another episode.